Here we're looking at factoring quadratic trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where the leading coefficient a is equal to 1. Now, as we proceed in this review, let's keep in mind that factoring is simply the reverse process of multiplying polynomials. So to help us better understand how to factor quadratic trinomials of this form, let's actually think about the multiplication of two binomials to get us started. So when we look at this binomial product in its expanded form, and we look at this trinomial, we can see that in trying to factor a quadratic trinomial of this form, we're looking for two integers p and q, whose product is p times q, and whose sum is this intermediate coefficient. So now that we know or have a better understanding of the basis for this factoring technique, let's look at an example to clarify. So suppose that we're asked to factor the quadratic trinomial x squared minus 7x plus 12. So thinking back to this basis, we know we're asking ourselves what two numbers are going to multiply to give us a positive 12 and combine to a negative 7. So again, in thinking above factorization in the reverse direction, we know that in trying to factor this, we're looking at the constant term and thinking what two numbers multiply to give us 12 and then combine to the coefficient of the intermediate term. So let's go ahead and list the factors of 12, keeping in mind that when we combine those two factors, we must produce a negative sum. Or in other words, both factors of 12 must be negative. So looking at all of these factors, at this point, it's a trial and error procedure. We know that all of these products are going to equal positive 12, but we want to determine which combination is going to give us a negative 7 for a sum. So considering our first factors, we have negative 3 plus negative 4, and lucky us, negative 3 plus negative 4 gives us a negative 7, which is what we are looking for. So we have determined the correct factors, and we can say that the factored form for this quadratic trinomial is x minus 3 times x minus 4. And as always, we should never assume that we haven't made any algebra errors. We should always take that extra 60 seconds to check our work. So in expanding our binomial product, we see that we end up with that given quadratic trinomial, making or guaranteeing that this is the correct final answer.